Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to What in the Hell Am I Doing Wrong? I am your girl, Jameelah B, and today we have a special guest with us. We have Miss Gloria C. Joyner. She is the author of Super Achiever Serial Dater. So we're going to be talking a lot about this today. So you all make sure you go to Amazon and purchase her book. And before I introduce this special lady, make sure you like this video if you haven't already and subscribe to my channel. But today we're going to get a lot of knowledge nuggets from this lady. She has a lot of experience with dating. She says she's been dating in every decade since the 80s. She's divorced. She has her M.B.A. She has a bachelor's degree. She has a son, and she is a new grandma. And she's she's licensed in a lot of different areas, financial industries. She's a well-rounded individual. And I just want to get her started asking her just simply, why did you decide to write on this particular topic? What inspired you to do this?
The exhaustion of the hamster wheel of dating in the 21st century. It has been a very illuminating experience, to say the least, and to see my fellow sisters, whatever our ethnicities are, struggling with the same type of obstacles. You see so many accomplished women out here with doctorates and medical degrees and JDs, and they have their own businesses, they're running companies, they're CEOs, and yet society is telling us that we're not viable for marriage, for long-term partnership. Mm-hmm. And that seems almost like an oxymoron to me. And then a lot of us women, we internalize that. Mm-hmm. And we feel like somehow it's our fault. And society kind of does blame us for mm-hmm. being too accomplished and having too many characteristics that are favorable to men being successful. So I feel like the same characteristic traits that make men successful in business and industry, it's a double-edged sword. Look at Hillary Clinton. You know, it's a double-edged sword. When we do what they do, then we're told, bad girl,
right? Exactly.
Know your place. And so, unfortunately, it's been hard on me. It's really been hard on me out here dating. Not anything that I can't recover from. It's just been aggravating, aggravating and irritating. As you well know.
Yes, I totally agree. You know, I've been divorced since 2007, and I've been on the dating scene, you know, in relationships on again and off again since then. So I totally understand the frustration. And being someone who has accomplished many things, because I see you're also an entertainer. You're like me. You're a jack of all trades. You right. Dibble and dabble in things that you enjoy, your passions, and you're very accomplished. And so I found that as being a Black woman, and a Black woman, you know, that is accomplished and that's a go-getter and very determined to accomplish things that I want to do. How do you feel about the narrative of the strong Black woman? Anytime we bring up the strong Black woman, it's always coming with negativity. And I don't know, do you feel like the strong Black woman narrative has hurt Black women in the dating arena?
Yes, it has hindered us because no other ethnicity has that tagline attached to them. Right. I've never heard anyone say the strong Vietnamese women or mm-hmm. the strong German women or the strong French women. They always say the strong Black women. And at times it's a moniker that we embrace fully, but mm-hmm. at the same time, it almost creates this false narrative of we're not human. Right. We're superhuman. That's why my book's called Super Achiever. I've actually had men make stupid comments to me like, oh, you cried? I have tear ducts. Of course I cried. Mm-hmm. Or, you have, a master's degree, you have this, you have that, you own your own home, you have your own car. And at one time I had my own business. What do you need me for? Mm-hmm. And so it's almost as though the men who are inadequate to even be in my ear space want to make me feel badly because I had to do what I had to do to take care of my son. Right. I had bills to pay. So it wasn't that I was out here trying to accomplish things for the sake of accomplishment. I needed to eat. I needed somewhere to live, and I needed a vehicle to drive around with. and I had a son to take care of. So everything I did honestly was out of necessity. And that's where Black women are. We are the bottom rung socially in the United States of America. And so when you have literally, the neck, your neck being that they have it, America has their foot on your neck as a Black American woman, you have to find a way to make it when no one sees you. We are the invisible people. But at the same time, because we keep persevering, irregardless of that, they use it against us.
They do.
You're too strong to be loved. You're too strong to be vulnerable. You're too strong to be soft and caring. We don't want you because you're too hard.
Yes. Yes.
And it's just a defense mechanism. It's not who we are.
Yeah, and I say that all the time. It's not that we're not vulnerable. It's not that we don't have feelings. It's not that we don't love, and it's not that we don't have affection. It's just that we have to put up that hard exterior, so to speak, because we have been forced into that. And when you talk about the social landscape of dating, I think you and I were talking earlier about, historically, the society has changed as far as Black men in relationship to Black women. Years ago, you had Black men who wanted to be protectors and wanted to marry and be with Black women, but now it's like the landscape has changed a lot. And what factors do you think has contributed to that?
Well, I can tell you definitively, I'm sure some people would argue this point. If you ever get an opportunity, there is a documentary that actually chronicles this. The Arquette sisters put it out. It's called Misrepresentation with 2 S's. And so basically what I feel started it was the equal rights movement in the 70s. Because if you look at film, television, and print, women were always portrayed respectfully in dresses and heels, fully clothed, and women were not raped in film or beaten in film. The most you might see is a woman getting shaken or slapped or something like that, and that was the worst of it. Women were never shown naked or half naked before the women's rights movement. And what I feel like happened, which is what's happening now politically with the Republicans, is when men saw women wanting equal rights, it's not that we wanted to be equal with men. We just wanted the ability to go to work and take care of our kids post-divorce. Or if the man didn't marry us when we got impregnated by him. So we needed a job other than being a maid or other than being, something in the service industry. Nothing against the service industry, but sometimes that's not enough to pay your bills. Right. And so what I've seen is a very deliberate attempt to undermine women by sexualizing us and by degrading us, especially Black women. As you can see in the 70s, the advent of Black exploitation films where, they show Cleopatra Jones and they show the Mac and they show Black women being the whore, being the prostitute, being the drug addict, and so that's I believe the beginnings of the undermining of women being held in high esteem and high regard. So as a result, I feel like a lot of men actually look at women as though they have disdain. It's a love-hate type of thing. Yeah. It's very hurtful.
It's extremely hurtful. And in the comments, Camila Spence said, Black women are the most disrespected group of people on earth. I have a lot of friends with advanced degrees and executive level positions that are single and seeking love. And as you just stated, we have been overly sexualized for decades. And I mean, I think it was not intended to be that way, but we're only looked upon as being sex objects. It goes back as far as slavery, as being breeders. And, that's what they saw us as sexual deviants or sexual beings and nothing more than that. So as far as humanistic qualities, they don't think that we have that. They don't think that we possess that or we deserve that. So that's why in your book, in the first chapter, You Are Not Crazy, I think it speaks to a lot of this, because a lot of us out here who are women and we're like, what is wrong with me? Why am I'm not crazy? This is societal changes that have placed me in this position. So please, y'all got to get this book because it explains all of this. And then as we go out to dating, women dating, when you try to date at a certain socioeconomic status, we're looking at men that are on our level, so to speak. What do you have to say about, like, what describes the landscape of a man who is, technically on paper he's on our level, but is he really checking for us?
Well, that's the thing. That's one of my one of my chapters, chapter 2, which is there are men on your level. And that's the hard part of dating, the more educated and the more successful you become. Because when that happens is what our fellow super achievers tell us is there's a certain minimum of who you should or shouldn't speak to, which I feel sometimes hurts us because a blue collar high school graduate is no less valuable than a CEO of a corporation. He
Right.
actually may love you more deeply,
Mhm.
actually, but in response to what you're saying, I can tell you firsthand, and I know you know this as well. Most men who are accomplished, who are wealthy, who are very successful in business, they don't want a woman who's intelligent. As you
Mhm.
can see, our former president, Donald Trump, he is the embodiment of what most men do. Kanye West, they are the embodiment of what most men do when they become successful. I've already made the money. I've already did all the hard work. I don't want someone smart.
Right.
I want someone to just be a trophy.
Mhm.
I've been put in that position, and then when they find out I'm smart, it's almost like the Price is Right, bump, ba bum, like they're disappointed, like, oh my gosh, I didn't want her to be smart. I didn't want her
Yeah.
to have a mind of her own. I didn't want her to interact. So most of these men, they want to share their bed with a beautiful fool. And
Yeah.
so and then they have kids with a beautiful fool, like
Mhm.
Tiger Woods. He married a nanny, a millionaire, a billionaire.
Mhm.
Serena Williams would never marry a nanny. You know what I mean? And so men get away with that. And
They
it's
do.
so upsetting. They're not looking for us because the minute they see brains, the minute they see accomplishment, they're like, oh no, I'm actually going to have to talk to her.
Yeah.
I may even wind up competing with her professionally, and I don't want to do that. And it's very hurtful because in a relationship, if it's a healthy exchange, it's no competition. We
Exactly.
are in partnership. It's a collaboration.
Mhm.
But the way we're socialized in society, I can't even understand how anyone gets together because men are socialized in America to basically go sow your oats. Go
Uh-huh.
out there, get as many as you can. Now that's the music landscape, that's the hip hop landscape. You're a man depending on how many body bags you have. But then
Exactly.
women are told, keep your legs closed, good girls don't. And then sometimes men ask you, how many men have you slept with?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
And if you ask them, who knows? They won't even or they might disclose, they don't care. But it's a double standard. It's clearly
if
a
you've had an abortion, God forbid, if
yeah,
you've had an abortion or two in your lifetime, then
yeah.
you're a horrible human being.
Absolutely. And I think, like LaDonna V said, a lot of men think that the independence we display is emasculating to them. Can't win for losing. Sure can't. You really can't. And I do want to go back to something you brought up about, we were talking about men on, our level. I was watching a clip from, it was Jungle Fever, and it was a group of Black women sitting around talking. And
I
when,
love it.
after Wesley Snipes had cheated, and the one woman was saying there aren't any good Black men out there. And then the one who had been cheated on, came back and said, I've been cheated on, but I don't think that there aren't any good Black men out there. It's just that we're not looking at the garbage men. We're not looking at, the blue collar workers. We're looking at the men that have the high profile jobs, that have reached a certain status that we feel that is comparable to our lifestyles. So do you think that, and I think you spoke to this a little bit, are we limiting ourselves as well? Are we limiting ourselves and our options based on, the degrees behind your name, the letters behind your name? Are we doing that?
I absolutely believe we are. I actually had a man tell me, you like shirt and tie brothers. So that's what we usually look for. Is this man wear a shirt and tie to work every day? Whatever his title, is he wearing a uniform? Then we kind of snub our nose at him. Like, if his has his name on his shirt when he goes to work, we kind of look down on him. And honestly, and that's in my book as well, I actually speak to how astronaut is a very highly regarded profession, but
Mhm.
their average income is 65,000 a year. And
Right.
how many women wouldn't say they wouldn't marry an astronaut? However, garbage men,
Yeah.
they make the same amount of money. They
Mhm.
may come home dirty.
Right.
And in the town I live in, they don't even pick up the garbage anymore. There's just a
It's a
mechanical
machine
arm.
thing, you know. Yeah.
Right. So I feel like I did it in my early years. I've never been a gold digger or anything like that, because that's another thing about us. We make our own. So we're not looking for you to buy us our red bottom shoes or to sponsor us. We're not looking for a sponsor. We're not African children that are hungry who need someone to send money our way, but we are looking for someone that their intelligence is commensurate with our intelligence and background. And that's where the unequally yoked part comes in, because
Mhm.
that's why I wrote the book, because I feel like a lot of times we as super achievers, we don't know how to look for the right type of man, because we do have peer pressure. Because
Right.
if we do, and I wrote that in my book, if you do go out with the blue collar guy or the younger guy who doesn't have the means, because he may be 10, 15 years your junior or
Mhm.
20 years your junior, so he hasn't worked long enough in the world to accomplish very much. So he can't really take care of you financially, but we may overlook him because, oh my gosh, he doesn't make six figures a year, but in 20 years, he may be making six figures a year, or 10 years. Or if you meet the garbage man, but he has a city job. He's got good benefits. He's got a good retirement, but we may be embarrassed to introduce him to our pinky out girlfriends who are psychologists and medical
Right.
doctors, and they're bringing their husband with the tuxedo on, and we got our guy coming over with the overalls or maybe a tie with a short sleeve shirt, and we're
Mhm.
like, oh, this is my husband. I'm so embarrassed.
Yeah, I was laughing. Kareem put they looking for someone to take their crap. Yeah, a lot of men that are of a certain level, they are looking for someone to take their crap. But I wanted to ask you this, and because you just brought that up, like a lot of times women won't look at that guy that's 10 or 15 years younger than them because he's so much younger. With the cougar thing is on the rise. It's like it's on the rise. It's being celebrated a lot. Okay, in that same vein, I'm cautious. I would be extremely cautious as a 42-year-old woman dating somebody in their or even early 30s or late 20s. I would think they're trying to use me in some type of way, because I feel like, what do we have in common? How do we navigate that to see, okay, is this person just trying to fulfill some fantasy of being with an older woman, or is he trying to find his next place of residence? I mean, how do we factor through that if we do choose to look at a younger guy? How would you look at that?
I'm glad that you asked, because I'm living that now in my life. Traditionally, I've always dated older. Traditionally, when I was 18, I was dating a 4-year-old. So I've always dated older because mentally I was more mature beyond my peers. So older men represented security. They represented intelligence. They knew which fork to use on the table. They weren't going to embarrass me in public. They've lived, they've been married probably, they've been divorced, so they know what they want.
Mm,
I typically strayed away from younger men because they seem to be wishy-washy. They seem to not know what they want. And so they seem to look at love and relationships as it's a game. So I've always stayed away from them. But I noticed as I hit my 40s, my male counterparts weren't taking care of themselves. So
mm,
they were getting all kind of morbidity factors that was impacting their energy, their vitality, their health. And so they couldn't keep up with me, physically, sexually. I don't go to bed at 9 o'clock at night. I don't go to bed at 10 o'clock at night. I'm a very virile woman. I'm a very energetic woman. So what I'm noticing is I'll be 50 in a few months. There are 50-year-old men that look like they could be my dad. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? And it's a turnoff. So what I've been doing lately, and it's been, scary sometimes, is I have been dating, not in a relationship with, but I have been dating younger men, and it's really fun. But I don't date men who need anything from me. I make sure I don't date younger men who live at home or
Right.
who have, the men I've dated that are younger, and it's only been a couple. They have their own jobs, they have degrees, they have their profession, they have their own place, they have their own car. So there's no need. But the downside of it is that I can't ever, there are things they don't do. Like, for example, an older man will see that your grass is growing and they'll say, hey, baby, I'm going to get someone to come cut your yard, or I'm going to get someone to wash your car, or, hey, I know you lost your job a month ago. Here's a couple dollars to take care of something. See, that's something older men that just comes naturally. Most younger men, they're just thinking of themselves. So they don't really think about
Right.
you beyond, out of sight, out of mind, a lot of times for the younger man. So it's not a bad thing. It's just you have to be careful because, like you say, there are, as TD Jakes put it, men who've been mothered to death. And
Mm-hmm.
so they're actually looking for someone's couch to sleep on or
Yes.
someone's house to move on into. I don't play that. So they can kick rocks on that. They can kick rocks. I already raised the son. I'm not raising anybody else's child. And
Absolutely.
as a matter of fact, I'm about to ask some women out here for child support because of their raggedy sons. Excuse me. Did I say that? I'm so sorry.
No,
I'm so sorry.
some of them need to pay up big time because they have raised these, like the movie that came out, the John Singleton movie, Baby Boys. You have all these baby boys out here, and they're getting into relationships with women, expecting the women in their lives to treat them like their mama did, and that just doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's really pathetic. But yeah, some people do need to be paying some child support. And what you gonna say? You gonna say something?
Well, because I have raised a son, what I have seen happen over and over again, and this is the plight a lot of times of superachiever serial daters. When we do have children, we won't allow any male role models to come in and kind of help guide us because we think we're the mother, we know what's best. And I hate to tell you guys, in 2021, you need two parents to successfully raise a child. You need a male role model as well as a female. But a lot of times, because of the equal rights movement, we feel like we can just extricate men out of that situation. And that's what we're dealing with now, because you have a generation of boys whose dads didn't kick their beds and knock them over on Saturday mornings and say, get out there and cut the grass.
Exactly.
Instead, you got the mom begging him over and over again, please, 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 or giving him money. And the dad will be like, hey, you got to earn that. You got to do something for that. And so they've gotten handouts from their mothers, handouts from their aunties, handouts from their grandmothers. They get designer clothes. And so basically, for example, when my son was 10, he told me, he's like, I'm the mom, I'm the man of the house. Mm-hmm. I said, no, you're the son. You do not have a job. You do not pay any bills. So I let him know early on, being a man is more than genitalia. You have to bring something with it. So the baby boys of our generation have been taught, you're the man of the house just because you have a penis. Right. And you're the only penis here. So now you're the man. You're not the man. And now you have a generation of men who feel like, as one of my friends saying, I know this isn't TV, so I'm going to tell you like it is. He said, this younger generation of men, they just bring dick to the table.
And that's true.
That's all they got. None else.
And that's true. And it's so unfortunate because I look at the younger generation, like I was born in the 70s. So it's like, I even see like a lot of men in my own generation, they have that mentality. And then these younger generations is even worse. So I'm just worried about the generations coming up. What is going to be the mindset? Will we even have marriages anymore? Will we even have, committed relationships? Will we just be out here all for self? It's like just all of that. I'm really concerned about that. That is something that, because I look at, before, generations before, you heard about successful marriages. I mean, sometimes they were a little toxic, but at least you did hear people getting married and having families. And I'm not an advocate for someone being in a bad relationship. No, I'm not. But I do believe that, the thought process of commitment is diminishing day by day in this culture. I really believe that.
Well, what has happened, unfortunately, and I've been a victim of it, I'm sure you have as well. Our society is so based on feelings.
Yeah.
How do you feel about something? And the generations before us, they understood love as a decision. Mm-hmm. You make a decision to love your child, not because you like them or not because you feel like it. You make a decision to love your child and you provide for them and you care for them, whether it's good or bad, whether they're good in school, bad in school, good grades, bad grades, whether they clean their room or not clean your room. You love them.
Right.
And that is what a marriage is supposed to be. A marriage is supposed to be, I've chosen this woman, I've chosen this man, and whether they gain weight, lose weight, get sick, lose their job, lose their income, I'm still in it for the long haul. Our society tells us if you don't feel butterflies anymore
Yeah.
and you don't get that feeling in your stomach, then you're out of love and the relationship's over. And so now they're out here, instead of working on their marriage, they're out here using that energy cheating.
Yeah.
The energy that they should be investing in the most important relationship that exists on this earth, which is between a husband and a wife. They use that energy to date and court a side piece.
Right.
And give her what he should be giving to his wife.
Yeah, and that goes back to the conversation we had last week with Dr. White. He was talking about how, you're giving the side piece, they're fulfilling a void or a need that you have that you're not getting at home. And you're telling them everything that you're not getting. So of course they're going to do what you want. But the thing is, that's temporary, and you should still be trying to focus on making what you already have at home work. You should be focused on that.
Well, not only that, when you cheat, they're not seeing all of you.
Exactly.
Just like when you're dating someone, they don't see all of you. They just see parts of you and portions of you. So it's very easy when I go on a date to look this way when I see him, if I'm only going out with him once a week or once a month. But then if he's together with me and I wake up and he smells my breath and then my period's on and I'm in the bed with cramps and now he gets to see something else. Some men run from that because they don't want to deal with the reality of, hey, even though you're a beautiful woman, I'm a beautiful woman, sometimes I'm not so beautiful. Sometimes I'm not so attractive. Sometimes I don't feel like getting up and cooking. Sometimes I don't want to clean up. Sometimes I don't want to take a shower. I just want to lay in the bed and feel some type of way. And a lot of men, if they didn't see, unfortunately, a lot of us, I don't know about you, too many of us haven't seen successful relationships.
Right.
So we didn't see, my mom and dad broke up when I was 7. So we haven't seen couples who can duke it out. If you ask your listeners right now, how many of us know people who are still married today who were married in the 70s?
Right.
It's probably like almost no one.
Yeah. And that's true.
And so what I learned, unfortunately, and a lot of us have learned, I learned from my mom, not because she taught me, because I watched her. The minute the relationship gets uncomfortable for me, I can be honest, the minute it became uncomfortable for me and I didn't like the direction it was going, I'm shutting it down.
Yeah.
I got to put my wall up to protect me. I got to protect me from the heartbreak. So I'm going to shut it down.
Yeah. And just like one of the viewers just posted, we are quick to walk away from each other. KTY in 1908. Yeah, we are. We're quick to, and I'm guilty of that too, because the minute something is not working the way I want it to work, or it seems like it's going to be such a hassle, I will let it go. I'll just let it go and be like, it's not worth the stress. It's not.
I'm going to shut it down because you're not going to hurt me. And I'm not going to be the fool that everyone makes fun of. And I like the Teddy Pendergrass song, the whole town's laughing at me. Yeah. I don't want the whole town laughing at me. And I may have missed out on an opportunity if I had worked through it. But I do believe what's for you is for you. And that's one of the reasons I felt so compelled to write this book, because I started thinking something was wrong with me.
Right.
And the men I was encountering, they were trying to make me feel. They weren't saying what was. Some will say that. I'm sure you've encountered it. You're single. What's wrong with you?
Oh yeah, they immediately. I get, okay, you're single. Okay, I don't know why you're single. What did you do? Are you crazy? I hear all that, and that's it's so insensitive, and it's insulting when people say that. It's very insulting, but I get it all the time. All the time. What did you do to so and so? I ain't do nothing.
I know you must be crazy. And see, this is what I've heard sometimes, and it's hurtful to me. You pretty red women, ... You know what I mean? Or you people with master's degrees, y'all smarty yard, ... And it's like, what? Why are you trying to diminish who I am instead of saying to me, hey, are you happy being single?
Right.
Is that where you want to be in your life? And when I've dated outside of my race, which I have done, never been in a serious relationship, I actually have, it's like a double-edged sword, because then I would have men of other ethnicities dating me and saying, oh my gosh, you're so amazing, you're so this, you're so that. How come there's no brother snatching you up? And
Wow.
it's like they're trying to open up a conversation that's a can of worms to get me to do what so many brothers do when we're not around, which is to put us down with women of other ethnicities. I will not participate in that conversation. So
Absolutely.
I have had men of other ethnicities date me and say, you should have been snatched up by a brother by now. Why are you dating me? And I'll be like, I haven't found them yet. I'm not going to bash my brothers outside. I grew up old school. We keep it in house.
And
We
that's
keep it in house. I'm not going to put my brothers on blast to a man of another ethnicity to give him fuel for the fire and go back and say, oh, you see you see what's going on. No, I'm never going to give you, it's never going to come from me, because I love my brothers. So I'm
right.
never going to give another ethnicity or another nationality the ability to talk badly about Black American men.
I
We do
agree.
it enough.
And it's sad. And it's sad. Black women, we will go to the end of the earth to defend a Black man. We will never publicly be out here, even if we're dating outside our race, like you stated. You will not bash a Black man like, oh, I date outside my race because Black men are X, Y, and Z. But the moment you see a Black man dating outside his race and he's asked why he does it, he will never say, oh, because I love this woman, or I respect this woman, or I like her. It's because, oh, Black women are this, Black women are that. You know, it's every negative connotation that you can say about a Black woman, they're saying. So do you feel like we as Black women, we do limit ourselves in the dating arena because we are, you know, pretty much isolated? We only want to date Black men. We're like true to Black men, where, you know, the loyalty and the is not to us, but, you know, we have it to them. So are we limiting ourselves?
It's hard to say, because the way our images have been portrayed by media, that's why I'm also have written screenplays and scripts for
Awesome.
film and television, because the way Black women have been portrayed, we don't realize there are cultures and nations who've never actually met a Black woman in person,
Right.
but they've seen Love and Hip Hop.
Mm-hmm.
They've seen, Atlanta Housewives. They've seen the lowest common denominator of Black women, and they assume we are Foxy Brown. They assume, because that's all they've seen, because the narrative has been dominated by white men. And
Mm-hmm.
so they don't want to portray Black women in a powerful position. So they don't want to portray any woman in a powerful position, least of all us. So when we're portrayed, we are portrayed in such a negative light. I said this to someone the other day, and they acted like it hurt them to hear it, but I had to say it. I said, nobody wants us.
Mm.
And the person looked at me like, what do you mean? I'm like, nobody wants Black women.
Right.
And he was like, what do you mean by that? I'm like, when boys are little, how many boys do you know when they're imagining their life mate, that the picture of a Michelle Obama pops in their head,
Right.
or an Oprah Winfrey or Serena Williams pops in their head?
Mm-hmm.
When someone tells a man a woman is hot, they're not thinking of a Halle Berry or Vivica Fox, or they're thinking of Becky. They're thinking of Karen. They're not thinking of us. And when it comes to running their company, they're not thinking of us. They're thinking of Becky, and they're thinking of Karen. And it's because the narrative of Black women sexually is a negative one. We're
Mm-hmm.
portrayed, because think about it, when the slave masters were raping us, they
Mm-hmm.
had to tell their white wives something. So instead of taking responsibility for being horrible rapists, they would just say, we were hypnotized by her hoodoo and her hips and her wily ways, and she's just a slut and a whore. And so that has stuck with us. But the Black male narrative is they're well endowed. How does that hurt them? How does that hurt them in any way? So women who've never been with a Black man, they at least want to know, is it true? Is it true? But how many men want to know, is it true that if we're slut whores? How many men are out here saying, I want to know if Black women really are sluts? Well, I really want to know if they're really hoodoo voodoo. So the narrative, so when you try to date outside your race, I have a hard time doing it, because I feel like it's an experiment for some men. They want to know what it's like to touch naps. They want to know. They want to know what the nappy dugout looks like. They want to know what it feels like to be inside of a Black woman. And to me, I'm not an experiment, baby.
Exactly. And a lot of them do that. They fantasize about these medium images that they see, and they want to just fulfill a fantasy. It's not really about, really who this woman is outside of the fact that she's a Black woman. And I think that's what steers a lot of Black women away from dating outside their race. And, it's just a lot of things about that. And I do feel like, do you feel like we have high standards, like our high standards, or our standards are looked upon as limitations in the dating arena?
Yes, because there are a lot of men out here who are low achievers,
right?
Who have no ambition, and they rather play PlayStation and hang out with their homeboys and get crunk and get turned up, and they don't really have any goals or any dreams or any desires other than buying the latest J's or whatever. And so when they meet a woman who is ambitious and industrious, instead of being motivated and saying, hey, I'm not there, but I want to go where you're going, it's like, let me hold you down and tell you, wait a minute, why do you don't need that? Why do you need that? You don't have to have that. I have actually been told by men, and I'm sure you have, your standards are too high.
Right.
You're high maintenance.
Right.
Your standards are unrealistic. And actually what they're saying, what they should say is, I'm not that guy. I don't meet your standards, so I'm going to politely step aside so you can be with the guy who does. Instead, I'm not going to acknowledge that I'm not that guy. I'm just going to tell you your standards is something wrong with you. Because if I have a master's degree and I'm talking to a high school dropout, he's not going to say, you know what, I need to go to school because I want to be with you, or I need to get where you are so I can be with you. He'll say, you're being unrealistic because most people don't have master's degrees. So you just need to go on ahead and get what you can get right now. And that's who I am, standing in front of you with my gold in my mouth and my pants sagging, and I'm living with my mom and them.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's unfortunate that women always feel like if they've reached a certain, economic status or, educational level, that they have to dumb themselves down to not hurt some male ego. And I think that's so unfortunate that we live in a society that perpetuates that type of stuff. And it's encouraged, because I recall even looking back at an old episode of Good Times, and Florida wanted to go back, Florida wanted to get her just a high school diploma, her GED, and James was feeling so inferior to her behind that. I mean, he started breaking furniture and just going crazy just because this woman wanted to better herself to help, better this family. But because he felt like she was going to be surpassing him educationally, he went crazy about it. And it was only accepted when he decided to join her and go to school. So yeah, it's really sad that women can't have males, them be their man's cheerleader and have a man be their cheerleader. And man should celebrate his woman if she wants to accomplish great things. I don't, that's the unfortunate part.
When I was married, I was heavily into the entertainment industry at that time. And my ex-husband, I was going on auditions, I was in videos, and my ex-husband told me to stop. And I was like, why? Because this was my passion, music. When he met me, I'm playing. I'm a classically trained musician. I was playing. I was in bands. I was in groups. And he was like, I want you to stop. And I was like, why? He's like, I don't want you kissing another man. I'm like, but it's fake. Right. It's acting. And I actually had to break it down to him. I said, so you're telling me if I'm in a film with Denzel and they pay me $1 million and I bring that $1 million home to you, baby, you still don't want me to be in the film? He's like, no. And I laid my dreams down because I was naive and I didn't know that if someone really loves you, they would never ask you to not accomplish your dreams. Well, and then one time I let him hear one of my songs that I was writing, and I spoke the lyrics to him, and he bust out laughing like it was a comedic joke, and it really hurt me to the core. And what I realized now that I didn't realize then is he was so intimidated by my ambition and my dreams, that when instead of saying, hey, I thought we were going to be like the Michelle Obama and Barack Obama before, because we were both at FAMU. We both got our degrees. We had bought a brand new home at the age of 25 and 26. So, we're no one's doing what we're doing. We're
Right.
ahead of our peers. But some people can't take being ahead of the group. They feel, and he let his male friends talk him out of it. When I was trying to tell him, do you know if you had a real friend, and that speaks to the episode you saw
Mm.
on Good Times, the thing that really made James Evans get his head out his ass was when his homeboy told him, hey, me and my wife had a similar issue and
Right.
we wound up breaking up.
Right.
And so
You're right. It was
the dude from 227.
yeah.
Yeah, he told him, he said, my wife started seeing a shrink and then she started seeing things wrong with me. And he said she was going one way, I was going another way. And then James got scared, like, oh, I might lose my wife.
Yeah.
See, a lot of men don't have counselors anymore in men. So when me and my ex-husband was married, all his friends were, single doing their thing. And so no one was celebrating our marriage and saying, hey, buddy, I want to be like you. And I used to have to tell him, I'm like, they want to be where you are. They
Right.
want to be you, but he couldn't get it. And so, unfortunately, a lot of men are so starved for male attention and male affection that they will do whatever their peers find acceptable. So, if you're a younger man dating an older woman, you may not want to lock it in because you're afraid what your homeboys are going to think. Or if you're, what I'm saying, if you're a man and a woman is a little bit bigger than you might normally be attracted to, or a little bit unattractive than what, she's not a dime, you might not want to bring her home because of what your homeboys might say. But guess what? She may be the best mother and wife you've ever had.
Right.
You may wind up on life support in the hospital and she may be smart enough to know what the doctors are saying and you may still live.
Yep. And it's funny because right now, a lot of people, and I don't even like to speak about him, but I will just say it for the sake of conversation.
Don't bring him up. Don't say it.
You know who I'm talking about.
Go ahead, though. Do it. It's your show.
Yeah, Kevin Stamp. I didn't even want to do it, but the same stuff you're talking about, diminishing women, insulting women, putting a value on women. And I just feel like you have people out here that are speaking to the masses and get into these impressionable minds. And a woman may be of a certain size, but to them, because of what society has told them, she's not good enough. Or, you need to be with X, Y, and Z. And that's so unfortunate. But it's terrible that was that's what's going on. It was something I was going to say about something, and I just completely lost my train of thought about it. It'll come back to me. But going back to being with someone who does not support you, I think that, when you're a super achiever and you're looking for love and you have a mate and you're surpassing them being insensitive to what you want to do. I experienced that too, because just like you, I'm a creative person. Full time I work in the field of domestic violence, but I write screenplays. I'm into filmmaking. I'm into all of that. Right. So early on, I was married, and if he sees this, he'll probably get mad, but I don't care. It's my But I was, early on, I was really heavily into screenwriting. I was in my early 20s, and I really wanted to do screenwriting. And anytime I would see like an opportunity to take a class or go to a boot camp, I would want to do it. But he would laugh and say I was just, chasing a pipe dream. Like it's not something that is attainable. And I need to look more into something that's practical. And I think that, a lot of times men do that because they feel inferior, or they just don't want you to surpass them, or it's just that they don't understand. And that's a lot of the barriers when you have a woman who is a super achiever. She's going to want to accomplish great things, and she needs a partner that will support her in all those aspects. And then it's going back to the accountability from other men. We were talking about the Good Times episode. Mm-hmm. There's a program that one of our providers in family violence, Men Stopping Violence, they have a strong male accountability part of their component to the domestic violence class. So they pretty much peers hold each other accountable. And a lot of times men, they do listen to other men more so than, they will listen to someone else. So if someone is holding them accountable, they'll have an opportunity to look at themselves instead of someone co-signing on the foolishness that they're putting out there in the universe. So I think we do need to go back to more, holding people accountable, men holding other men accountable.
I think the best example of that, if you ever heard of an author, Walter Mosley, he has a book called Always Outnumbered that they turned into a film with starring Larry Fishburne. Have you ever seen it?
Mm-mm.
Well, there's a scene, you should get a chance to look at it. There's a scene in the film. Well, the premise of the film, of course, he's a former felon and he's struggling to get employment. And so he's really wanting to better his life. And so Larry Fishburne's looking for work. He's catching hell. But he has a friend, they're all on the West Coast, who's like a software engineer, but he's out of work. So he's what we're looking for, allegedly. So
Right.
he's the shirt and collar guy, the collar and the shirt and tie guy.
Mhm.
However, he has a wife and kids, and he's not working because he can't get a job in his field.
Mhm.
And his wife is, struggling, but she's still loving him in his unemployed status. She's not trying to leave him. She's not bashing him. So at one point, she goes to Larry Fishburne's house because that's his friend and says, "Have you seen my husband?
Mhm.
He's gone, and I don't know where he is, and he's missing." And he says to him, he says to her, "Well, where did he go? What did he tell you?" She's like, "I don't know. I just told him maybe if he could just get a job somewhere, just to help out." And he got mad and left. And Larry Fishburne said, "Really? He left because of that?" He said, "You're a beautiful woman." He said, "Let me tell you something. If you were my woman, I will work at McDonald's in the daytime, Burger King at night, and KFC in the afternoon." He says, if he does, he said, "I'm going to look for him and I'm going to try to find him. And if I can't find him and he's not at home tomorrow, I will be there tomorrow." But the funny part was his friend was actually there in his house hiding out. So when she left, he came out, and it was Radio Raheem came out and was mad. Like, "You talking to my lady like that? Who you think you are?" He said, "Man, if you don't sit down." And he told him, he said, "Dude, what is wrong with you?" The male accountability. He's like, "You have a beautiful, amazing woman who's there for you." And all she said was, "Get a damn job." He's like, "Look here, man." He said, "With a woman like that, you ain't got no friends." He said, "Britt, don't be home tomorrow, and I'm going to be there." And don't you know Larry Fishburne came to their house the next day and knocked on the door, and that man answered the door? See, that's male accountability. See, if he had been a weak dude, he would have been like, "Yeah, dog, that's messed up, man. How can she ask you to work at McDonald's, dude? You ain't that." You see what I'm saying? Like, thank God, for the sake of the film, he had a brother tighten him up.
Right.
And say, "Hey, you're thinking wrong about this. You have a woman that's supporting you, that's just saying, 'Hey, I need a little extra help in the financial department.'" And instead of him receiving that, when she told it to him, his fellow man had to tell him, "Hey, bro, you keep it up, I'm going to get with your lady." See that?
That right there really shook him. That shook him right there.
What? He went home. And that's what's so sad. And that's why we're single. Because when other men see men with us and mistreating us and mishandling us, they don't say anything because there's a lot of hate. A lot of men hate on each other. So they're not going to tell when they see a man with a woman like you and they know they can't pull a woman like you. They're not going to tell him when he's messing up that, "Hey, you're messing up. You could lose that amazing woman," because they're looking like, "I could never get a woman like that. I'm not going to help him keep her."
Exactly.
I'm not going to help him keep her because I hope that he messes up and that she come to me for comfort.
And that is so true. That is so true. Zen Remy 2020 said, "How many frogs do I have to kiss? Maybe I'm around the wrong ponds." And that takes me back to one of the chapters in your book about we have to
kiss a lot of frogs to get to the prince, baby.
Prince. So a little bit about that, because I hear that all the time. You're gonna have to kiss a lot of frogs, and I'm like, okay.
And you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. I have come to a place of peace in my singleness because I am more focused on me as opposed to the external, which is what a man's perception of me is. And it's taken me a long time to get here. Actually, one of the persons I'm dating now, I had to actually confess to him that this is the first time in my life, which is sad to me, that I've been able to be myself. Because I feel like so many times as a super achiever, we're either dumbing ourselves down when we're with a man we like, or we're holding back what our ideas and thoughts are because we're afraid it's going to overwhelm them or overtake them, or we're afraid to say, "Hey, I don't feel like cooking because I just worked a 12-hour day," or "I don't feel like doing my hair right now because I had a hard week." But we feel like we still got to do the Susie Homemaker thing, and we still got to be the goddess in the bedroom. And to actually, for the first time in my life, I'm actually dating someone where I don't feel like I have to create an impression. I feel like I can just be me, and it's very unfortunately it's very refreshing because most men want me to be who they want me to be, who they want you to be. So if we do anything that deviates from that narrative that they've told themselves. You are XYZ type of woman. So when you deviate that from that, like I use a lot of profanity, guys working with me on that. I drink a couple drinks sometimes, and I've had men be like, hey, try to tell me how to talk or how to tell me how to handle my life socially. And it's really offensive. So to be with someone, because honestly, dating in a long-term relationship is I have to accept you where you are.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Who you are. So if you're someone who's a high achiever, a super achiever, and you have a lot of things going on, and I'm a homebody and I don't really like going anywhere, I'm either have to let you do your thing like Dolly Parton's husband has done, because you've never seen Dolly Parton's husband, but she's been married to the same man since the 60s.
Yeah, and when she posted something, I was like, I had no idea, none. Mm-hmm.
But he stays in his lane.
Right.
He doesn't want to be a part of the entertainment industry, but he doesn't stop her either.
Right.
And so what I've experienced is just men wanting me to be who they want me to be. Mm-hmm. And that's why we're kissing so many frogs, because so many of them are not telling us they're frogs when we meet them. We're good enough to have sex with, but we're not good enough to marry.
Right.
We're not good enough to be in a relationship with, because we're amazing in bed, but no, I might actually have to, be a better man if I'm with you.
Right.
That's why I love that movie, As Good as It Gets, when he tells Helen Hunt in the movie, hey, you make me want to be a better man. That's what really love is supposed to be. If you fall in love with me or you're loving me and I'm loving you, hey, maybe if I'm not the most fit, I could be. Being with you makes me want to be more fit.
Right.
Or maybe if I dropped out of school because I'm with you, it may motivate me to want to go back to school.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's so true, because a relationship, you're supposed to better each other. So that's where it should be. And I love that movie. That movie was so funny.
Girl, let me tell you something.
It was better than me, because I would have been left Jack Nicholson a long time ago in the street somewhere.
But then I also like Something's Gotta Give, because that deals with the younger, the older, and then you're dealing with a 67-year-old man who's never been married, never had kids, who's out here dating tweens, 20-year-olds, and the woman at his age. He even said to the, Keanu Reeves in the movie, he's like, I've never seen a woman that age naked. Mm-hmm. And Keanu Reeves, I think what was instrumental in Jack Nicholson's character falling in love with her was when he saw a dude more handsome than him, that was a doctor, that was looking at Diane Keaton's character like, she is amazing. He had like Google eyes for her. And Jack Nicholson was like, really? It actually made him Google her. It actually made him look her up and start looking at her with respect. So I feel like as the dating scene changes, we need our brethren to help us by checking other brothers when they hit us, when they cheat on us. So many men don't say to their fellow brothers, like in that movie Family Man, when Nicolas Cage was going to cheat on his wife, his homeboy said, dude, any one of us will give our left nut to be with your wife. Don't mess it up. Right. So many men want to see you mess it up because they're not happy in what they have. I really wish that we need brothers as our allies. We need men as our allies in the dating landscape for us to have successful relationships. We need them. They're not our enemy. But at the same time, they don't want us to speak our mind.
Exactly.
They think if we speak our mind, it means we're bashing them or we don't like them. For the record, black men, we love you.
We do.
We need you.
I think about that Angie Stone song when I say that. We love our black men, even though a lot of times y'all think we're out here to bash. And I remember when I created this platform, people were saying, oh, you're just going to be male bashing. No, I'm not. It's nothing about male bashing at all. And I know people probably thought that with your book because you're speaking to women, so it's not that it's about male bashing. It's just trying to help one another. It's nothing.
We're just trying to get some understanding. The best depiction of that is Jill Scott's song, The Fact Is That I Need You. Yes. She says in the song, I'm able to do all these things, but I need you. I can kill a spider above my bed, but it's hard because I'm scared. That's how I feel. I can do all these things, but I need you. And then when I tell a man I need you, then he's looking like, okay, what's like he's on Candy Camera or on Punk. Like, okay, where's the joke? Because I know I've actually been told, what are you up to? Like, you can't possibly really love me, or you can't possibly really like me. So, because when you're intelligent and you have a lot going on, and then you actually like someone who's not quote unquote on your level, then they're looking at you like if I date a younger man, he's probably going to look at me. And I've been told this. she's never going to take me seriously because I'm 15 years or 20 years her junior. Or a man who's got, no degrees, he's going to be like, there's no way she could possibly take me seriously. And so they count themselves out of the game. And
Yeah.
they use it as an excuse instead of going all in.
Mm-hmm.
1,000% to see what happens, like Jack Nicholson did. He made a fool of himself, but he got it netted the result of you got the girl. But
Right.
so many men today, they're so afraid to throw their hat in the ring and just give it all up and be a fool for love. And they don't realize if you're a fool for love, you'll have a marriage like the Obamas. You'll
Oh,
have a marriage like Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson. But
yeah,
you gotta throw it all on the table, and they won't do it.
they won't. And that takes me to Veronica's question. She said, what role does self-esteem play in this? Because, they do say you date on your level of self-esteem. So what do you think about that? Mm-hmm.
I feel like it is so instrumental because it's one of my chapters, and I know some women may not like it, but it's called The Smartest Dumb Women. Um, some of the smartest dumb women I know are professionals. They may have a MD, a JD, they may be a biologist, a virologist, but they pick the guys that beat them, lie to them, because on the inside, yes, professionally, I'm a tower of strength. But personally, I didn't deal with any of my emotional issues because all of us have emotional issues. All of us have emotional baggage. And if you haven't done the hard work all of your life dealing with your emotional issues and you bury them behind professional accomplishments and income, and you become an overachiever in another area. That's why a lot of the entertainers you see in film and television and sports and music, they suck at dating. Their
Yeah.
marriages don't work because they didn't do the hard work, because everything's about me and how, and me getting this Oscar and me getting this Grammy and me getting this CEO position. Every time I get that little nagging voice of, well, you do have this annoying trait. No, I don't. It's
Right.
them. It's those. And so when the men have told us from the bottom of their hearts, I love this about you, but ... You have to listen to it. You can't just dismiss it because it doesn't line up with your narrative about yourself. And you have to be honest enough with yourself to know if I have daddy issues, if I
Yeah.
have mommy issues, if I've been sexually abused, if I've been emotionally abused, if I've been physically abused, if I grew up in extreme poverty. Me and Kareem used to work for DCF, so we know how this impacts you socially, emotionally, and it hurts you if you go out here dating crippled like that and you don't face the fact that, hey, you know what? My dad left when I was 7, and because of it, I have this issue. Or I grew up watching my dad beat my mom. You can't push it down.
Right.
Yes, we're not, people don't want to say, oh, when you were a child, that has something to do with who you are as an adult. That's a lie. Who
Mm-hmm.
you are as a child completely has to do with who you are as an adult. But you have the power, I have the power to actually take control of that and say, okay, I know I didn't get my love needs met as a child. For example, I did not. So when I date seriously and I'm seriously dating someone, I tell them, hey, I didn't get my love needs met as a child. So as a result, as an adult, Jameelah may only need one I love you a day. She
Right.
may only need one hug a day. Gloria needs 3 I love yous a day and 3 hugs. Can you deal with that? Because, see, I know what my issues are, so I put them on the table and I tell a man up front. See, most of us act like we don't know that. And so then we portray this picturesque, professional, austere demeanor. And then when they get with us, they're like thin line between love and hate. They're like, this lady's crazy.
Or they
This
love.
lady's crazy. And so it's our self-esteem. And so some of us date down or date men who aren't going to get too close to us because we don't want them to bring up the sexual abuse. We don't want them to bring up, the fact that we grew up in the projects, and we don't want anyone to know, that we grew up in a trailer park because you may judge me. You know what I'm saying? And so it is definitely, especially Black women, if we're not perfectly fit, we have that body issue because society is telling us. I mean, I started off as a full figure model and I was a size 12 when I started modeling. So, where in the world is 12 full figure? But in America, it is, even though the average American woman's size is a size 14. So you have a lot of women out here who don't feel good about their bodies, who don't feel good about themselves. And instead of owning that, we date busters that aren't going to, propel us into a better state. Because if I date a man with a very big belly or someone who's very out of shape, he's not going to care if I'm not in shape.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If I date someone who hasn't dealt with his daddy issues, he's not going to press me to deal with my daddy issues. So, John, I forget his name, John, it escapes me. He's Bradshaw. He tells you that the child in us searches for the child in the other person.
Right.
So the hurt child in me is searching for that hurt child. And so, yes, if you have an issue and you're bent a certain way, you're going to attract a certain type of man. And then you can't keep getting mad saying every man I meet is a liar. Right. Every man I meet is a cheater. Every man I meet steals my money and my ATM card. Well, that's never happened to me. So that's something that has to do with you, boo-boo. Mm-hmm. But I have my own issues too. So
we all do. And that's why I like what Beautiful Sun says. It says, you come to a man when you are 100% complete, 100% within yourself. And I do think that you should only be seeking relationships if you are 100%, who you need to be before you go getting into anything. So I do agree with that 100%. So we're winding down, but I do want to find out this, talk about this. You also discussed this in your book. Why is it taking so long? Like, a lot of us are so impatient and saying, okay, like you mentioned early in the interview, you are tired of the dating and being a serial dater, because I know I am. So what is taking so long? Should we be more patient? Should we just trust the process? Like, what should
Well, I don't know what everyone on this podcast, on this beautiful interview believe, but I am a believer in the Lord. And one of the things I do believe is what's for you is for you. And you can't rush God.
Right.
God does things in his own timing. And one of the hardest things for me to come to the realization of is God doesn't bring something to you until you're ready for it. Mm-hmm. So if I'm not married yet, it's because I'm not ready for it, even though I think I'm ready. Right. Obviously, I'm not, because my forever hasn't appeared yet. So It's taking so long because I'm not ready. How many of the people that we meet every day, how many professional women we meet every day, and we know in our heart they're crazy. We know in our heart we love them, but we're like, "Ooh, girl, I can be with you because you got this thing or the other thing. Ooh, girl, you crazy." And they'll say, "I know I'm crazy," but we're not doing anything about it. And so that just prolongs the dating process. Then on top of that, we won't vary our dating practices. Like, for example, I'm 5'10". So I did date someone 5'6". You understand what I'm saying? It's not my preference, you know what I'm saying? But I have dated men that are my height. Generally, I date men that are 5'9", 5'10", 5'11", maybe 6 feet tall. Instead of saying, like, I've met women who said, I got to have a man 6'2", bald headed, and he's got to be brown skinned and look like Morris Chestnut. But baby, what about his values? What about his character? What about his spirit? So I think we waste a lot of time in the early years of dating looking at the superficial, getting caught up on how he looks, what he's driving, where he lives, what his zip code is. And then once we get older into our 40s, we start realizing none of that matters. Because when we turn the lights out at night, all that matters is how he makes me feel as a woman inside. And sometimes it takes women a very long time to realize I might wind up in love with a Kevin Hart who's 5'3", and that's okay. And you know what I'm saying? Or I might wind up a man who's, a cop. Cops don't make that much money. He may wind up being in love with me, or I might wind up in love with someone who's in a wheelchair or someone who's deaf. I have to stop assuming that the man for me is going to look a certain way. Right. And so we all have a type. So I think a lot of times we get hung up on the external type of tall, dark, and handsome, instead of realizing that short, round, and plump might be your boo.
Might be what you need. I was watching, and I don't feel like I come across things accidentally. I was on YouTube this other morning when I was getting ready, and it just trickled to this service. It was a minister, and I have to look back to see who it was. I was listening to him as I was taking a shower, and he was pretty much talking about soulmates. And he was like, he never believed in soulmates until it happened to him, because he said, he always thought it was a fluke. Like, okay, what is a soulmate? But then he said, when he met his current wife, he said, he had been married before too. So this is not his first marriage. And he said, it was something about her spirit. he was like, they connected on a level that he couldn't even explain. And he was like, granted, he finds her attractive, but it was not just her physical appearance. So I think once we get past a lot of the superficial things, we would probably be happier people in the dating arena. I do believe that.
Well, I also learned something the hard way, unfortunately, is when I spoke earlier to you about feelings. One of the things I based all of my dating on, I'm not so much a superficial person as the appearance goes, but mine was the feelings. Did I get butterflies?
Yeah.
Does he make my heart go like that? So every time some guy made me feel like that, I felt like he was the one.
Right.
He has to be the one. I didn't acknowledge or really realize that that's lust. And that's sexual chemistry. That doesn't necessitate a lifelong relationship. And every guy had a heart situation with, I'm not together with them anymore. You know what I'm saying? So I had to realize that it's not about how he makes me feel in the immediate, but it's how he makes me feel in the long term. Like, do I get more comfortable around him the longer I'm around him? Does he really make me feel like I want to be the best me I can be? And I may not feel the pitter patter and the butterflies all the time when I'm around him. It doesn't mean that it's not love. And so I feel like if we definitely have a biblical understanding of what love is, as opposed to a social understanding of what love is, because we think love is Cupid shooting an arrow and all of a sudden we have hearts in our eyes and then this is the man for us. Once we realize that love it's not a business decision and it's not a heart decision, it is a spiritual decision. As you said, the pastor said, it's someone whose spirit you connect with. And a lot of times, unfortunately for a lot of men, they may connect with you spiritually, but because of the superficiality and a lot of, of the situation or what it looks like to the outside observer, or because unfortunately, as you get older, I'm 49, you're in your 40s too. There are men who still want to have kids.
Yeah.
And so they'll look at you and say, oh, you may be amazing, but because you don't want to have kids or you can't have kids, I'm going to overlook you, not realizing with the technology we have today, anyone can have a kid if they really want one. I just feel like that's another thing that's hurting us too as women who are super achievers, because we spent most of our younger years working on accomplishment. And then we wake up at 40 plus and we're like, uh-oh. And then men who are our age who are like, I'm not trying to get with you because you're not trying to have kids. Because men, unfortunately, in our society, like for example, Scotty from Star Trek, when he died, he was 85 years old, but he had a 5-year-old. I feel like that's horrible to the child, but men they can be single, like 45, 50-year-old men who are single. They're not in a rush, like, oh my gosh, I gotta have a kid. They can still screw around and play games. Whereas women, we know eventually we're going to go through menopause and that's going to stop. And so you have a lot of men who won't date us because of that as well, because they're like, hey, I haven't had any kids. I want a son. I had an ex tell me that, hey, one of the reasons he broke up with me, he's the younger guy. He said, because he wanted to have a son to carry on his legacy. And the irony of it all is he married a woman and they had a daughter.
Wow.
I'm not laughing, but I'm laughing.
Boy, to carry on the name. Wow.
I'm laughing. I knew that wasn't the main reason or the real reason. It was really the issues he had within himself. That's why it didn't bother me what he said. It spoke to his character. However, there are a lot of men who are thinking like that. Like, if I get with an older woman, what if I want to have kids?
Exactly.
But what if the older woman is going to be the best experience of your life? Well, what about and even if she's not older, there are women who've had medical issues who can't have children.
Exactly.
They've had hysterectomies because they had cervical cancer or ovarian cancer. So are you going to rule her out because she can't have kids? And you're going to fall for the dingbat because she can? And then you're going to complain later on social media how all these guys are like, baby mama drama, baby mama drama. Oh, really? Yes. What eyes were you looking at?
Exactly. What lenses? Yeah. And I mean, those are things that we definitely need to, address and look at. But I do want to say this. I like what Beautiful Son said about some women don't know what type of man they want. They just don't want to be alone, especially when you're over 40. And I think that's a lot of the issue. A lot of women over 40, they want a warm body next to them. They don't want to be alone. They're aging and they think about, okay, I'm going to be growing old alone. And I think that is where you know, a lot of the standards and a lot of the sacrifices are made with some women. They just want a man just to have one. So yeah, that's unfortunate.
Well, Betty Wright said it, a piece of man is better than no man at all.
And
I'll tell you this, I will stay single till death. Me too. Before I do that. I will tell you, I will not settle. That's why I haven't remarried in 20 years. This past February was our 20-year divorce anniversary. Wow. I have not remarried because I will not settle. Does that mean a man hasn't asked to marry you or me in the years that we've been divorced from our spouses? No, it doesn't mean that. Just because you like me doesn't mean that was one of the things I had to learn a long time ago. Just because you like me doesn't mean I have to like you back.
I have to like you.
You know, so many men feel like when they tell you, I like you. I've had crackheads walk up to me, I like you. So, okay, you know, if you go into a convenience store and a crackhead standing outside, oh, I like you. Thank you, sir. Then they almost act as though you're supposed to do something now. Like, you've bequeathed me with your like. So now I have to act on that. How dare I overlook the like that you have for me? It's just, it's amazing to me. That's why I say I heard someone say it, I can't remember who said it, but basically what the person said was, it's so hard in this lifetime to find another human being that you connect with that really loves you for you. Mm-hmm. So why would we put parameters such as race, age, and profession and all these other superficial characteristics and layer it on there and actually, you know, lose out on the possible love of a lifetime because this person, I'm Catholic, but he's Buddhist, or, you know, he's from Africa, but I'm from South America and we don't like them. You know, I mean, that's the thing that hurts me in a lot of relationships is that we tend to look at what society tells us to look at. And society's wrong. As we can see in our political landscape, society is wrong.
They are, yeah.
They are wrong.
Yes. And I just want to, we're going to be closing out and oh no, I did something. I made a mistake. Oh no. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I was trying to pin a conversation, a post, and I put the people in timeout, and I shouldn't have. I don't know how to fix that. I was trying to.
Well, if you like, I can read the last paragraph of my book.
Yes.
As we close.
Yes, that's what I was going to tell everybody. It was a post. Camila Spence posted about purchasing the book. Don't forget to purchase it. It's on Amazon.com. And if you're local, some of your local bookstores, like if you're in Metro Atlanta, check out Nubian Bookstore. Just, you know, to purchase the book, Super Achiever Serial Dater. And you can read that last chapter.
As well as on Kindle. It is on pre-order on Kindle. So if you are a person who has a tablet. So this is the last paragraph of the last chapter. And I feel like it encapsulates what we're all talking about today. The superachiever sister can be traditional, conventional, rational, single, married, powerful, formidable, vulnerable, unconventional, irrational, old, young, middle-aged, everything and nothing in between. Everyone may not appreciate the superachiever sister, but it matters very little when we get to know and love ourselves.
Beautiful, beautiful. And thank you for being on today. Again, if you haven't liked this video, please like it and subscribe to this channel. And please do not hesitate on purchasing these books. I saw a few people in the chat said they already purchased it. So you all go out and purchase Super Achiever Serial Dater. And thank you, Gloria, for joining me on What in the Hell Am I Doing Wrong? She posted a lot of knowledge nuggets today. So I want everybody to go and have a great and blessed Sunday. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.